That's right, you're getting two videos today, doing more map scouting. So I did some boots on the ground scouting today, only for about 2 hours today, checking out a spot that I will be hunting in September. And about 2 hours in, I fell. I fell into some water. I wanted to creep up to this little dug ditch full of water to try to find out if my new snake boots were waterproof as they were advertised, because the last snake boots I had were not waterproof. Well, as I got up to it, the ground underneath me collapsed and I fell probably above my knees, uh, mid thigh into the water, and then had to pull myself back out. And after that, just being completely soaked, and while it kind of hurt, I decided to come home, and I guess I'm going to do some map scouting today instead of all of the boots on the ground scouting that I was planning on doing. Anyways, the story behind this spot is that a buddy of mine sent me this pin up in Virginia. I do not live in Virginia. I've passed through Virginia once or twice, but I have never actually spent any significant time there. This is just a buddy who I met through hunting. We hunt one of the same spots. I pulled up to one of my spots and I saw a truck already parked there. And this is one of the things I don't like about hunting is some people just get so mad about parking and hunting in the same area as someone else. But I knew going into that spot that wherever someone else was hunting in there, it was probably not any close to the spot that I was hunting. So I felt comfortable going in there, even though there's already a truck parked there. Especially here in South Carolina, there could be a spot that, like, there's one place to park, maybe two places to park for 10 miles of public land, and to say that there's already a truck at the gate, you must move on, is honestly just silly. A lot of people do that, or they get mad that you hunted too close to them, and it's just ridiculous. And one of the biggest lessons learned to that is just be willing to talk to people and be a kind person. And also, I waited for this other group to come out before I left, because that's one of the things that I care about is if I see another truck there, I want to make sure whoever's there makes it out just fine. So I sat in my truck after I was done hunting and waited for them to come out as well to make sure that they made it out just fine. And then we just started talking, and that's it's so rare. You come across so many people who will just be pissed off that you hunted the same spot as them, and sometimes you do find that, sometimes you don't. um, but just talk to people, be willing to be a kind person, and chat up the area, and talk about the location that you're hunting. And you'd be surprised how much people are willing to tell you about where they're hunting, and then you share some of your information. And now me and this guy just share information with each other all the time. We send each other pins, tell each other, hey, go check out this spot. um, hey, there, I saw some hogs over in this area, if you want to check it out. We share information, and that kind of relationship happens from just talking to people and willing to be kind. And if you're that guy who's just pissed off that someone else pulled up and hunted the same area as you, well, sorry, it's public land. People are allowed to do that. So just be willing to talk to those people, talk to people who are hunting the same areas as you, and you'll find that you'll meet some very nice people, some great people who are just like you, just want to learn and just want to be successful with hunting just like you do. And then occasionally you're going to find that guy who's just pissed off that you're there. And you know, it is what it is. Don't be too upset, because you're going to find one or two people who are just mad about it. And just let that person be mad, and move on and keep doing what you're doing. So anyways, this buddy of mine, he took a trip up to Virginia. He goes up there quite a bit. I believe that's where he's originally from. um, and he does a lot of scouting with a small drone, and he takes a lot of pictures with these drones. And while he was up in Virginia this last weekend, he sent me a picture of 5 or 6 deer. I might be able to link that picture in here. I'm not looking at it right now, so I don't know exactly how many deer were in the picture, but this field full of deer. And he sent me several pictures in the past of the same field with a bunch of deer in it. Um, so he sent me a pin of the location, and he wanted me to check out where the closest public land is to that place, because he doesn't have the elite version of Onyx like I have. He just has that basic version that only shows one state. So he wanted me to check it out. So I'm going to go ahead and record me checking it out so that he can see what I find, and you guys can also see what I find. So we're going to go ahead and get into the map scouting. All right, Virginia. Just like I said, I've never been through Virginia before. I've passed through over here on I-95, just going all the way through north or all the way back down south. I've never spent really any significant amount of time in Virginia. I have been up to Washington, D.C. once or twice, but one of the things I've wanted to do is just record me map scouting a place I've never been, so that I can give you guys some ability throughout the country to be able to map scout, because a lot of the applicable things, a lot of the techniques all apply to different types of environment. Full disclosure, though, I have only hunted in lowland swamps and pine thickets. I've only really hunted a lot in South Carolina and Georgia. I have hunted the mountains up in Wyoming for elk before. So full disclosure on that is, take this with a grain of salt. I've never been to these locations. I've never scouted this type of terrain before. I'm just going to take the basic understanding of scouting that I have and tell you what I would do. So, to get started here, this is the pin that my buddy sent me. I don't know if he owns this land, if someone in his family owns this land, or what, but this is the pin that we're starting with, and he wanted me to find the closest public land. Well, look, it's right there. So, again, I'm using my hunting layers here. I have government lands and acorn producing layers on. Again, for some reason, it doesn't show acorn producing on the computer. It shows it on my phone. It will not show it on the computer. Don't know why, but there you go. It is not that far away. I would say that's maybe a few mile. Maybe that's like a mile away. There's a mile away right there. This is just right down the street. This is a few hundred yards away from the spot that he sent me. Um, Again, I don't have private lands marked right now, because otherwise you'd be seeing names right here. I don't really like putting out names on here. I am guessing that this field out here was the field he was sending me pictures of. I could be wrong. I don't really know for sure. Might be one of these fields over here. But there you go, right there. That is close. You could certainly go use that right there. That's a small area, though. You would probably spend a lot more time out over here. But let's start with this small little area and see if we find anything interesting. Well, so like I said, I am used to lowlands. Very little elevation changes at all. So right now I have the topo on so that you can see the elevation changes. This is way more intense than what I'm used to. I'm used to completely flat land. Now, I absolutely have gone through mountains before. I know how to navigate through mountains. It's going to be different than what I hunt. Now, this is a very, very, very small little area. There's not a whole lot of places to go, but you got to look for the changes that there are. So, biggest thing is this water that's marked here. It's calls it Lick Run. There's probably a little stream right here. I would probably park over here. I'd probably park over here actually, just based on the way the topo lays out right here. You can see this is kind of a divot through right here. So I would walk up this. I would walk up right here. So I would mark right here as access. I'm probably going to start right there. And then I would probably walk up this. So I might as well drop a pin here just to show that I'm walking up here. And then I would take that up over to here along this creek. I would probably follow this creek down this way a little bit just to check out and get close to that border, just see what's right over here. I'm not trying to violate anyone's private property rights and cross over. I just want to come see what's in this little area right here. Whoops. All right, fix that. I just want to see what's over here. And then I would probably continue to follow. You see these these divots here in the topograph. These are generally an easy path to walk. You're going to have, some steep on the sides. I keep doing that rotation. Let me see if I can fix that. I don't want to rotate. Sorry about that. You're going to have steep sides, but you're going to be able to walk through along this creek here. So I would walk along this creek up this way. This is a little bottom here. So I would follow this bottom here and see what you found along here. And then see if I can follow this bottom up through here. Again, I see the elevation on the topo here, but I really can't picture a whole lot from this. You can see it starts to get a lot steeper here from the topo. The way these topo lines work is if the lines are closer together, it's because it's steeper. So this is probably about as far as you would want to go. Maybe drop another pin right there. Just depending on how steep this is, you might want to backtrack and come up this bottom over here on this side and go check out what's over here, because this bottom goes a little bit further. You see, you can continue to follow this bottom a little bit further. Probably go check this out. Keep going up here. And then you've got this ridge right here. So you've got multiple ridges coming down right here. All these ridges. If you can get on top of these ridges, I would go check out on top of these ridges. And then they come together to kind of these ridges all come together right here. This looks a little bit flat. So you've got multiple ridges coming down here, and then you've got a little bit more of a flat right here. Now I understand it is very close to this private land boundary right here, but I would probably take this bottom all the way up to this flat area right here. And then I would walk along this flat area to then start trying to access each one of these ridges and walk down each one of these ridges. Mark all of these ridges, tops of these ridges, mark them as access, because I'm going to access from the top of these ridges. Now you could access from the bottom of the ridge. I'm just assuming that it would be easier from the tops of these ridges to follow this bottom all the way up and then access the ridges from the top. Again, don't know. All depend on what it looks like when you actually get out there. But that would be my game plan for this small little area, would be to walk up these bottoms, make it to this kind of flat top up here. And it's not really that flat, but it's flat enough to walk. At least that's what it looks like. And then I would walk down these ridges and check out what's along these ridges. And then, again, this is a very small little spot, so not a whole lot that can be done with this spot. If you find sign through there, great, but you're very limited with that small amount of land. And that brings me down the road to this next little area. I wonder if that. Anyways, I don't know if you hear that in the background. That's my washing machine is going right next to me in the next room. I don't know if you can hear it, but if you're wondering, that's what that pounding sound is next to me. So next thing we got, looks like this road comes all the way through here. Okay. Yeah, this road comes all the way through. So this is all public land out here. So where do you start? Well, just like I said, you gotta start with changes in terrain. You can see this all, you see how the topo gets tighter in here, and then you see it jumps up to 2,800 feet from this 2,000 feet down here. 800 feet is quite the climb, especially if you don't have a good trailhead to be following. 800 feet's a lot of elevation change, so this might be difficult to move through. Biggest thing that I see here is this creek. I'm gonna base all of my scouting around here based on this creek and the bottoms that this creek is creating. So I would start with like these bottoms right here. You see all these little tiny creeks that feed into this larger creek here. So I would drive along this road, and each one of these little creek bottoms, I would take a walk up these creek bottoms. I don't know how easily navigable they are going to be, but that's where I would start. And again, I have never been here. I've never hunted in this type of terrain before, but just applying my basics here of find changes and see what is there. And those changes in terrain. Oops. Just going to add waypoints to all of these little creek bottoms here. All right. Now, what would be interesting is if all these creek bottoms come together somewhere. Doesn't really look like they do. They kind of all start right here though. And you do see that these all kind of start right where the topo starts getting a little bit more intense. Let me take a look at my phone version of this, because that's going to actually show me whether or not there's oak trees in there. I believe the last time I looked at this location, it was full of oak trees. Like there's no, like, it's all oaks. And up there in Virginia, there's enough white oaks that it actually distinguishes on the map between white and red oaks, which is pretty interesting because, oh, there's all my marks. Down here in the south, there is no distinction. It's just assumed to be all red oaks, and you have to go find the one white oak that's in there. Yeah, so this whole place is just checkerboarded with oaks. White oaks, red oaks, it's got orange and yellow all over the place. So honestly, there's very little land out here that doesn't have oak trees marked on the map. So I would just go through these bottoms here, and I would look for some of those white oaks that are consistently producing acorns, and I would check out and look for some sign along those. And then I would just walk all the way up these bottoms here. I see that it crosses some trails here, so walk up these bottoms. For this spot specifically, you see you've got a trail right here that splits right in between these two spots that I've marked. So you might want to just take this trail up here to this top up here and just take the trail up here. That might make it easier. And then from there, come down from the top of this bottom here. And that might honestly be the best strategy for all of these, is to just take one of these trails. I would probably take this trail up here, calls it Indian Pipe. And then from there, I would access each one of these bottoms and walk down it and see what I find along it. And then you see right here, it gets the topograph gets more intense all the way through up until here. And this looks like kind of the top of a mountain right here, which is interesting that the top of the mountain is also the border of the public and private land. That just sounds difficult for me, because typically what I would like to try to do is get on top and then walk along and then see down into here. But because this line is right on the top, I would be cautious, because you might end up walking onto the other side, and most people wouldn't care, but you might just find the one person who does care. Let's see. Again, you just have more of these creek bottoms. That's really what I would focus on, is these creek bottoms. And if you don't find any success in that, I would check out these little hills. And then follow along this Poverty Creek. The one thing about this creek right here is it goes right along a road. So, there's always access. You're just going to follow along this road and just pick a bottom and go walk up the bottom and see what you find. This one looks interesting right here, and you've got these two ridges that come together right here. You've got several ridges that come together right here. So this looks interesting. If you can get to this, I would try that out right there, just because you see how you have these, I can't show you, I'm pointing to it. You have a ridge that comes down here, a ridge that comes down here, a ridge that comes down here, and these bottoms in between. Another ridge right there. This is just multiple ridges all coming together right here. So that could be a good place to check out. And you've got this creek right here. So I like this spot right here. I would probably try right there. Other than that, you don't really have any significant changes in the terrain, like what I'm used to, where you have clear cuts and fields. You don't really have that here, because this is a national forest. Also, I don't know Virginia's regs. Maybe you can hunt in the national forest, maybe you can't. That's for you to determine before you go there. I don't know for sure, but here in South Carolina, you can hunt Francis Marion National Forest, but I'm not telling you that you can hunt here. You need to find that out for yourself. Got an observation tower there. That's interesting. And you just have all of these ridges and bottoms along here. This is a good spot right here. You see all these ridges that come together right here? That would be a good spot to check out. Again, if you can get to it. I have heard that these ridges and hills here are very difficult to navigate. So I'm dropping a pin. You can try to get there. I don't know for sure if you'll be able to. I would probably walk along all of this. You see how this is kind of bluish along here? This is all different from this river down here, this little creek. So I would check pretty much all of this area along the creek and check all of these small little creeks that feed into it. Let's see, what else can I find? This is interesting because there is a trail that comes straight up this ridge right here and straight along this creek. Like that. It's called Jacob's Ladder. All right, then. That's This is a good place to start right here. I like this spot because you have this trail that leads straight up this ridge and straight up this creek right here. That'd be a very good place to try. And then it also, this trail continues up to this hill right here. This hill right here looks interesting because you have these two different creeks that feed into it right here. So I like this trail right here. I would certainly go take a hike on that trail right there and check it out. Okay, you've got a pond over here. That's interesting. It's a train shift, right? I keep talking about train shifts. This is Panda Pass Pond. Okay, that might be a place that you might find some things. And I mean, you have terrain shift, just like I keep saying, terrain shift, train shift. That's what you need to find. The one thing you look like you might run into is you probably have people camping, fishing. There's a picnic area, so you probably can't hunt right at this pond, but you can use it as a resource, as you know that these deer are drinking water from somewhere. So it might be a good place, a good central point to start at this pond and go walking up these trails and go see what you can find. Um, let's see what else we got. Okay, this is interesting. I would do that. So I would start with this pond. I would get on one of these trails. I would walk up here. And then this trail makes it all the way up to pretty close to the peak. Oh, does it give me information about this trail? Oh, it even tells me how long the trail is. Look at that, 1.43 miles. That's a good little hike. I would hike up this trail, and then that would bring me to these tops up here. And then I would use that to. Sorry about that. I need to flip back to north. Oh, no. Sorry. Where was I? Horse Needle Trail. Yeah, so I would walk up Horse Needle Trail right here. This is what I would do here in this area. Put a little access point in that little parking space there. And then I would walk up Horse Needle Trail, and that takes you all the way up to these tops here. And then you have multiple ridges that you can access from there. So I would walk along here. Oh, and look at this. Look at this one perfectly right here. What is this? This is, does it give it a name? It doesn't give it a name, but there's a little trail right here. This is perfect right here because you walk up this trail and then you have this trail that goes along here and along all of these ridges right here. I would check out all of these ridges. In fact, I like this spot right here because it's a kind of a bench between these two ridges right here. I think they call that a saddle, where you have a divot and you have these two ridges together. Maybe I need to look at the definition of what a saddle is when it comes to topography. But I like this spot right here because it looks like you could have deer crossing multiple ridges. If they were going to cross multiple ridges, I bet they would cross right there because it looks like it's easy to cross. And you're not far from these little creeks right here. Probably drop a pin. You see how you have two ridges and a bottom right here, and then they kind of come together to this semi-flat with a top right there. Somewhere around here, right in this little circle right here. I'm gonna drop a pin right there. All right, what else we got? Any other major shifts in terrain? Wow, this is a large national forest. Okay, we've done quite a bit already. Let's see what else we can find. again, just creek bottoms and ridges. Creek bottoms and ridges. All along this road, you can access all these creek bottoms and ridges. What is this? Well, we got a little parking area. Looks like some construction. Not sure what this is, but might be a way to access some of the stuff over here. Bushy Mountain Wilderness. Wow, there is just vast quantities of public land out here. Brush Mountain Wilderness. No motorized use. Well, it looks like you can take this road through here and then walk into here. Anyways, I think we're going to eliminate all of this area for now. Maybe we'll do another video on that in the future. For now, what we have in summary is we'll start with this little area over here. Starting with the pin that I was given, I found a little spot here, a little spot of public land, and I would use these bottoms to walk up to this flat point, and then from that flat point be able to access all of these different ridges and see what I find on those ridges. And then along here, I would honestly just along this entire road use these trails and these bottoms to access the ridges. And then honestly, the biggest thing that I found that is going to be the most useful is this pond out here. Well, this one's going to be useful too, is this trail that comes all the way up here. I would give that trail a good walk sometime. Let's see if it can tell me the distance. Nope, from this side. So that little stretch right there is 1.22 miles. That's definitely a walkable hike. And then, you know, if I click on this, it's going to show me all the way down to the other side, which I don't intend to go all the way down to that other side. But anyways, that's one spot you can check, is that trail right there. But the biggest thing that we learned here is about this pond over here and this creek and these trails that go straight to these ridges. So again, I would park here, walk up either this trail or this trail, and then from there access all of these different ridges and see what you find on all of these different ridges. So that's what I would do in this area. Again, take it for a grain of salt. I have never hunted this type of terrain. I'm just using my basic concept of find changes in the terrain and find the kind of the path of least resistance, because deer want to move easily just like we do to and from resources. They do not want to expend unnecessary energy. So look for, like I said, you've got a trail here. Look for places that they could walk easily to get to and from the resources they're trying to get to. All right, anyways, I think we're done with the map scouting, so I'm going to go ahead and close out for now. All right, thanks again for joining me with this map scouting here. Trying to get some more videos out so that my viewers have something that they can actually watch and learn from. Trying to get as many videos out as I can. I think these map scouting videos are very easy for me to produce, and because I'm just recording things that I'm already doing. I look at maps all the time, so it's easy for me to produce these videos. Let me know in the comments what types of videos you want to see me do. Trying to put together a some kind of way that I'm going to record my own hunts, but for now, recording just showing maps and recording here from the house makes it a whole lot easier. As we get into the hunting season, I'll be able to get some more recording out in the woods, actually doing, the thing that we're here for is the hunting. Anyways, likes, comments, subscribes, all views, all these things are helping fuel the channel for me. So as long as those things keep happening, I'm going to keep making these videos so that we can get the message out and get people learning from this. So thank you for joining me, and don't forget, the only unsuccessful hunt is one in which you did not learn from. Thank you.